Nitin Gadkari ji, Honorable Minister of Road Transport and Highways, Government of India, to today's virtual annual session of the Indian Chamber of Commerce. Elijah Cummings, one of the most well-known US House of Representatives and a key member of the Committee of Transportation and Infrastructure in the Obama government, famously said, our decision about transportation determine much more where roads or bridges or tunnels will be built. They determine the connections and barriers that people will encounter in their daily lives, and thus how hard or easy it will be for people to get where they need and want to go. I remember reading this a few days back and how I could immediately associate the essence of this thought with what our Honorable Minister, Sri Nitin Gadkari ji, has been doing all for our country. Sir, you set in motion the process for holistic sustainable development of India. The Green National Highway Corridor is set to foster interstate economic integration through a pan-India web of regional business hubs, 35 multimodal logistic parks, 50 economic corridors, 10 international stations currently being developed will provide the industry access to world-class plug-and-play infrastructure and efficient connectivity. Sir, you also introduced the first ever vehicle scrappage policy in India and the new FASTag policy. We also know, sir, that sustainability is close to your heart, from the Namami Gange project to the current waste to wealth policy and inland waterways. You have shown us that green growth is attainable for India. Sir, we are grateful to you for sharing your invaluable time with us today, and we are all eager to hear from you. Thank you once again, Honorable Minister. Over to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Vikash Agarwal, President
Okay,
ICC,
sir.
Mr. Pradeep Surekha, Senior Vice President, Mr. Mehut Mohanka, Vice President, Dr. Rajiv Singh, Director General, distinguished dignitaries, invitees, and all my dear friends. I am delighted to be virtually with you all at the annual session of the Indian Chamber of Commerce this year. The Indian Chamber of Commerce has been a leading national chamber since pre-independence days, and I wish you all the very best on your annual session 2021. I also convey my best wishes to Mr. Vikash Agarwal, President, and Mr. Pradeep Surekha, incoming President, and I am also told that ICC will be entering into their 100 years by 2024. Today, it is my pleasure to deliver an address on the theme Empowering India Today for Tomorrow, where the adoption of cutting edge technology, innovations, and digitalization will lead to all inclusive and sustainable development in the country. In the journey of Azadi Ke Amrit Mahotsav, we are standing at a turning point where our government is taking concrete steps towards building a tomorrow which is far more vibrant, Atmanirbhar, and climate resilient than our today. We all must be aligned with the commitment made by our Honorable Prime Minister recently at the COP26 summit to achieve the target of net zero emissions or a carbon neutral country by the year 2070. This is a challenge which calls for a joint effort from all stakeholders, particularly the private sector. Our central focus areas for Bharat at 75 are growth drivers, infrastructure, inclusion, and governance. Infrastructure development plays an important role in the fulfilling the vision of India in becoming a $5 trillion economy in the next 5 years. The decision-making process in this sector has to be very transparent, time-bound, result-oriented, and corruption-free. This will help us to contain time delays and project cost overruns. A well-developed infrastructure improves the level of economic activities, creates additional fiscal space by improving the revenue base of the government, and ensures the quality of expenditure focus on productive areas. State-wise lockdown due to COVID-19 has led to some delays in the implementation of infra project in the country. I am happy to tell you that we are now gradually getting over the hump The government has given a massive push the economy by allocating about rupees 111 lakh crore through the National Infrastructure Pipeline to be invested until 2025, where 20 lakh crore is allocated to the road infrastructure sector. To expedite the integrated and holistic infra development, the government has recently launched the PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. The Gati Shakti Master Plan will provide the framework for the NIP program and is aimed at making Indian products more competitive by cutting down the logistic cost and improving the supply chains. The road infrastructure plays a critical role in the growth of the Indian economy, as 70% of the goods and nearly 90% of the passenger traffic uses the road network to commute. Even during the COVID-19 pandemic, we have made a world record of constructing 38 kilometers of road in a day. This was all possible due to collective team spirit and a focused goal. The National Highway Authority of India is AAA rating company, and we have chalked out a plan for monetizing the existing highway assets for infra capital generation. Roads have the target share in the national monetization plan at 26% with a target of 1.6 lakh crore every 4 years, over 4 years. Out of this, approximately rupees 25,000 crore has already been realized. Implementing alternate instruments like monetization of existing asset has been challenged through InvIT, toll operate transport, TOT, and SPV formation for enabling wider investor participation. The model concession agreement for BOT toll projects have been amended to address investor concerns, which includes better projects and preparedness, revenue protection, and cash flow management. Similarly, for hybrid annuity model projects, we allowed 100% equity disinvestment after 6 months of construction completion, and the interest rate has been linked to a more realistic market rate. We have also removed the requirement of EMD for bidding of new tenders to enable more industry players to participate in highway construction, and the system of the omnibus guarantee is already in place. We are now allowing 100% FDI in the road sectors, and domestic investors also have the opportunity for joint ventures. There is huge potential and economic viability for investment through insurance funds, pension funds, and sovereign wealth funds, and we have offered tax incentives also. There will be a good return. We have also relaxed technical and financial eligibility criteria for bidders and optimizes the project packages size to expedite the work. The land acquisition process has also been expedited through digitalization, and we are streamlining the environmental and forest clearance process across all authorities. My ministry is constructing 65,000 kilometers of national highways under the Bharatmala Phase 1 and 2, and we have a plan to develop around 35,000 kilometer highway under Bharatmala Phase 1, with an overall capital expenditure of rupees 10 lakh crore. 20,000 kilometers of this is already under construction. The government is expeditiously working towards the development of a national highway network of 2 lakh kilometers by 2025. We are developing 22 greenfield access control expressways. Additional 8,500 kilometer expressway have also been planned to develop in near future. I have recently inspected the work currently underway on the rupees 1 lakh crore Delhi Mumbai Access Control Expressway, and it is 1,350 km long and 12-lane greenfield expressway. This will be a first of its kind engineering marvel and will be the longest expressway in the world. Besides cutting travel time and fuel cost, it will bring socio-economic development to the regions. Reducing logistic costs to below 10% of GDP is at the top of the agenda, so the government is developing integrated inland waterways, air connectivity, and road network at large. We are developing 35 multimodal logistic parks and aligned ecosystem like warehouses, cold storages across the country. Towards the green initiatives, we are encouraging the installation of solar panels rainwater harvesting, and artificial groundwater recharge systems along the highway. Under the Green Highway Mission, the government is carrying out tree plantation and transplantation along the national highway where longer participation of the local communities, farmers, NGOs, and private sector is expected. To utilize the benefit of huge investment in infrastructure, the private sector can invest in building logistic parks, smart cities, and industrial parks along the corridors. The use of advanced technology would ensure stagnant enforcement of traffic rules and efficient and safe traffic operations. Today, India is becoming the largest EV market for electric two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and cars. We are taking special efforts toward the development of low-cost indigenous battery technologies. Startups and new entrants in the EV industry are performing well over the traditional auto players. The government is strongly encouraging solar and wind energy based charging infrastructure for mobility. NHI has been mandated to develop EV charging infrastructure at wayside amenities along the highways to promote and facilitate electric mobility. In the next 5 years, it is planned to develop wayside amenities at 600 locations, all of which will have the necessary EV charging infrastructure. Along with EVs, we are specifically giving importance to alternative fuel and biofuels such as bioethanol, methanol, bio-CNG, LNG, and green hydrogen. We are looking at a cleaner and greener economy. The private sector players can attain a definite cost advantage by adopting their construction equipments, machinery, and diesel trucks to run on biofuels. We are also ready to welcome investment in technologies that run on biofuels and alternative fuels, compatible engines such as flex engines, hybrid engines, and we are committed to delivering flex engines soon that give the users an option to run on either 100% petrol or 100% bioethanol. Our Prime Minister has recently launched 300% ethanol pumps, and the Petroleum Ministry is now promoting the setting up of dispensing units by private entities. LNG has an extremely promising future in the country, and it is gaining prominence as a fuel of choice for long haul transport. I have inaugurated India's first commercial LNG pump as a fuel, and LNG has good economics. The cost of conversion of an old diesel truck is rupees 10 lakh, which can be recovered in 295 days with an average of 5 km per kg average. Our government has invited all private companies, including PSUs, to work in the sector where they can even import LNG. Another area where investors can look into is the retrofitment industry for converting older gasoline vehicles into electric or CNG or LNG. A large number of commercial vehicles, trucks, and buses are needed to be converted into alternative fuel and compatible engine vehicle and affordable cost. We are working on the shift of public transport, logistic, construction, and agricultural equipment on 100% clean, green, and affordable fuels. We are also looking for prospects about green hydrogen as a potential source of energy across the various sectors like fertilizer, steel, mining, and mobility industries. You can invest in technologies for electrolyzers, production, storage, and transportation of green hydrogen. The recently launched vehicle scrapping policy in India is aimed at extracting maximum value out of old vehicles based on the world's best global practices. There is a need to establish a large number of vehicle scrapping units and a scrap recycling industry in the country. In the next 5 years, we aim to make India's automotive sector the number one in the world. This will lead to large-scale employment generation. Our step towards a cleaner energy will help to curb India's crude imports, which now stand at around rupees 8 lakh crore annually. We are also working on more sustainable transport system like broad gauge metro rail, ropeway, cable car, funicular rail, and road train bus. There is a huge opportunity for the private sector to participate through investment in the public transport system, especially in the hill states of the country, which have a huge demand for electric transport systems like ropeways, cable cars. The new public transport models like Hyperloop, seaplanes, pod, and drone taxis are also gaining interest in the country. Investment in mobility technologies is very much welcome. For national security and remote area connectivity, my ministry has taken up tunnel projects of more than 2 lakh crores, and the use of tunnel sharp technology, surveying techniques, and demolition waste management is the challenge for us. Under the Act East policy, today Northeast, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Southeast Asia are also being connected through road, rail, and airways infrastructures. The state capitals of all northeastern states shall get connectivity by 4-lane national highway or 2-lane alternate alignment by 24-25. With high standards of quality, we are seeking the use of innovation technologies and materials in road construction. My objective is to reduce the use of cement and steel in construction activities. Any sustainable material and technology in place need to be adopted to save the cost of construction by large. My ministry has been focusing on the use of waste material like plastic, rubber, flash, iron slag to save the ecology and environment. We are seeking appropriate technology for their cost-effective use of construction. Our efforts are towards steady transformation of India's digital infrastructure as well. With nationwide campaign like Digital India, we are also working to promote the growth of technology startups and enterprises. With greater participation from the private sector and increased government spending, opportunities for investors in the country's supply chain are on the increase. Our focus is on time-bound, qualitative, cost-effective, and sustainable infra development in the country. As India looks forward to matching developed countries like the USA and Europe in terms of road connectivity in the coming 2 to 3 years, the wholehearted involvement of the private sector is very much required. I would like to take this opportunity to request you to participate financially and on the technological front in the fast-track infrastructure development of our nation. As a leading chamber, we expect ICC members to play a key role in the nation building with proactiveness and faith. Our government is very supportive, flexible, time-bound, and transparent towards the ease of doing business ecosystem in the country. We are ready to hear your queries, suggestions, problems, and we are here to support you. With these few words, I once again thank the Indian Chamber of Commerce for providing me this platform to share my perspectives, and I wish all a safe, healthy, and prosperous life ahead. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Dhanyavad.
Sir, thank you. Sir, thank you for sharing your vision, thoughts, and insights with us. I'm sure all of us have learned a lot about our government's infrastructure plans. Indian government's commitment to build modern infrastructure under your leadership for the 21st century at a pace never seen before is palpable, it's commendable. Sir, our government has set ambitious infrastructure targets. We as industry and as a chamber are keen to support and participate in all your initiatives, sir. Sir, with this, if you have time, if you can give us some time, if you can, our members want to ask few questions, 2-3 questions. If,
You asked me 2 or 3 questions.
maybe we can. So maybe may I request Mr. Sudeep Datta, our national expert chair for infrastructure, to please go
Good
ahead.
evening, Honorable. Good evening, Honorable Minister. It's always a pleasure hearing you. I think the biggest change in focus has been that it's not about roads and highways, it's about economic development. Sir, I think there is a tremendous focus in the government of moving towards non-fossil fuel, and electrification and electric car is one key area of focus. I think you have also been talking about a time period by which the IC vehicles would be phased out. So we had 2 questions around this. One is on the electric vehicle side. I think we suggest that the standardization of EV vehicles would help in portability and help in better acceptance of EVs in the personal space. And the second question was on the transition. Is there a transition, because there'll be a lot of disruption that would happen So is there a target date in which IC vehicles would not be registered, or is there a timeline for implementing transition from IC to non-fossil fuels?
My problem is that we are very clear about it. Actually, we are not going to stop anything. Actually, some of the section of media, I don't know how you receive this information. Particularly, our approach is to encourage electric, ethanol, bio LNG, then green hydrogen, and alternative fuel, particularly the biofuels. Actually, we are planning it is in the interest of the need of the country that diversification of agriculture towards energy and power sector. We are surplus in wheat, rice, sugar, and corn. Now we can supply rice to whole world. This much rice is surplus with us. And that is the reason that our MSP is high and the market price is less. So that is the reason now encouraging the farmers and industry to make ethanol from rice, from corn, from wheat, from food grain. And that can be a great alternative where we can support the agriculture and as far as creating more employment potential, and actually we protect the interest for green India because the ethanol is a green fuel. The other important thing is we have ethanol from sugarcane juice, molasses, and BAB molasses. So 100% we have a lot of agriculture in the area, particularly Uttar Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra. We have surplus sugar is available. In the international market in Brazil, the sugar rate is 22, 23 rupees per kg. And Indian market, it comes to 32 rupees per kg. So this time it is the appropriate time for the policymaker to take the decision to create ethanol in place of sugar. Because where sugar requirement is 350 lakh ton and the sugar production is 410 lakh ton. So this surplus sugar is a big problem. So this is a decision, a conscious decision that our agriculture, for giving support to agriculture, that diversification of agriculture towards energy and power, and particularly ethanol is the main thing. Now I'm telling you that in Brazil, USA and Canada, there are the flex engine. All Mercedes, BMW, Toyota, all the people they are, all brands present in Brazil, US and Canada, the flex engine. It's a very simple technology. Only one of the filter from Bosch company and they are changing some washers with the rubber in place of metal, and some small things are there. And the cost is as long as same in all these three countries. So the flex engine now, the Toyota, Hyundai and Suzuki Maruti are ready to launch this vehicle, where the petrol rate is more than 120 rupees, 15 rupees per liter, and the ethanol rate is 62, 65 rupees per liter. So it is to be a saving to the consumer. They will get the great advantage because of the price is there. The other important thing is ethanol is a green fuel. And as far as the pollution is concerned, it can also save the pollution. And now we want to introduce the flex engine car, even a flex engine two-wheeler or three-wheeler with hybrid electricity. You know that the Camry from Toyota, that is hybrid, petrol and electricity 40%. On the same technology, you can use 100% bioethanol with electricity. So this can be a great thing for the country. And already we are now going to launch this. And I'm confident that this is going to save our imports. Presently, our imports are of 8 lakh crores. And next 5 years, it will go up to 25 lakh crores. Still, the pollution is a big concern. You are all people who are in the Delhi, we are facing the problem. What type of pollution because of that? What type of health problem we are facing? So this is the time that we need to encourage green fuels. Even I'm trying to use 50% ethanol in aviation fuel also. Already Brazil is using that. So this type of new technology, new innovation, new research is the 100% economic strength for the country. Our strategy is import substitute, cost effective, pollution prevent intelligence. Regarding electric vehicle, now you just understand if for the petrol vehicle, for example, the cost is 10 rupees per kilometer. For diesel is 7 rupees and for electric is 1 rupees. But the cost of the electric vehicle is high. But now presently we have reduced the GST on e-vehicle and there are some concessions regarding registration and other thing. Now we don't need to make it mandatory. Now the all new brands, big company, all type of models, they are going to launch on electric. Now the problem is that so cost is high because the number is less, volume is less. But I am confident, I'm telling you with a responsibility that I'm expecting within 2 years, after 2 years, the cost of petrol vehicle, two-wheeler, three-wheeler, and four-wheeler will be equal to the electric vehicle. And that is maintenance free, cost effective, no pollution, and electricity is indigenous fuel. And the idea is we are making electricity from wind power and solar power and hydropower. Now the 38% in our grid, total electricity which we require, out of 38% is solar. So we are moving fast towards solar, wind, and hydropower, the green power. My suggestion is 100% we will succeed in this mission because our Prime Minister has already declared the goal and which is very important for the country. So electric, we don't to make anything mandatory. I'm confident that next time when you are going to purchase your car, 100% you are going to purchase electric car because the cost will be same as long as petrol and whose saving will be there on the cost of the fuel. So we don't need to market idea. You are going to purchase it. So we are not making anything mandatory. Now the things are moving fast. Even the electric trucks are coming, electric tractors are coming. And my idea is in construction equipment machinery also, we want to use it as biodiesel, bioethanol, and electric and green hydrogen. I am telling you that green hydrogen is the future. Now, next month, I'm taking one car on green hydrogen and I'm going to use it to giving indication to the people that this can be possible. So there is no problem. Wastewater is available all over the country in municipal corporation. By using solar power, the cost is very less because the 70% cost in green hydrogen is power. By using solar power, the power cost will be less than 2 rupees. And using the water free of charge from sewage water, we can make a very, very cheap electrolyzer and we can divide it into hydrogen and oxygen and we can get the green hydrogen from that. Now already startups are working, making storage of hydrogen another thing. I'm confident that this is the future. So there are the all new options are open. The innovation, entrepreneurship, science, technology, research, skill, and successful practices, we name it as a knowledge, and conversion of knowledge into wealth is the future. My dream is to make Indian automobile sector as the number one manufacturing sector in the world. Presently, the size of the sector is 7.5 lakh crore, and idea is to make it up to 15 lakh crore. And this is the sector which is already create maximum employment potential in the country. This is a sector which is giving maximum revenue to the government. And if it going up to the 15 lakh crore, we have a good export potential by which we can make our economy strong and fulfill the dream of Prime Minister making India Atmanirbhar Bharat. So these are the line we don't want to make anything mandatory. I'm confident people will choose that because it is ultimately win-win situation for all the stakeholders. So that is exactly the people are giving good response. Now the increase in the sale of electric two-wheelers, electric four-wheelers, electric auto rickshaw is 140%, 160% in spite of COVID period. So people are giving good response. There is a huge increase. So I feel that we don't to make anything mandatory. We are also searching from a lot of new technology and encouraging the people. And that is exactly the dream of our Prime Minister. And I'm confident that we will be succeed in this mission.
Thank you so much for your insight. That was quite encouraging. Sir, if you have time, can we go for one more question? Can we take one more question?
The last question you can ask.
Yes, thank you, sir. Mr. Ashish Agarwal from ABC. Ashish, want to go next, please?
Namaskar, sir. I want to start by thanking you. I represent the road transport industry, and I tried to make a short list of how many things you have personally gotten done for the industry that are a boon. You know, starting from, of course, the highways, but the automated tolls, upgraded commercial vehicle norms, formalization of hydraulic trailer rules, MSME registration. The list goes on, and I know I'm not alone in my industry to know that with you in charge, we always feel that our problems will be heard and a very innovative, effective solution will come. So thank you very much, sir. And the question I had today was about intelligence in all the various things you were talking about, that non-standardization is a major impediment in the logistics business. So whether it's documents like LR, CN, etc. So a lot of this automation of information flows has been enabled by the e-way bill and also by FASTag. And so I wanted to hear from you, what is the roadmap of making this data even more available to participants in the industry? And also, what are your views on how to improve the quality of workforce in our industry?
Actually, we have some Supreme Court decisions regarding sharing of data and other things. There are some problems. But my idea, actually, my personal opinion is we need to open it to the people by and large, because in the interest of the society. But there are some legal barriers by which we are facing the problem. As far as the technology is concerned, everywhere we are using the technology. Now the idea is, by using satellite and GPS system in every car and truck, our planning is there will be no toll nakas. So in your bank account directly, there will be money will be subtracted as far as the whatever where your entry point and where you just whatever the how much kilometer you run it, on the basis of that only it will charge, and the total system will be digitalized. So idea is to want to make it using more technology in the system. Even in the deep making DPR, making construction, making accidental, particularly the road safety and making encroachment on the roads. Everywhere we are using drone technology now. So everywhere we are encouraging the technology and we are taking the help from the competent people about it. Our department, everywhere, our idea is to increase the innovation and particularly in road construction. It is a really important task for me that the cost of construction is very high. Without compromise with the quality of construction, my idea is to save the cost of construction, use of different materials, waste materials, particularly rubber, iron slag, plastic, then soil stabilization we are using, then the steel fiber, particularly the waste tire. You can get the rubber bitumen from rubber powder that can be used in rubberized bitumen. And from that wire, with steel fiber, we can use in precast. Actually, the technology which we adopted from Malaysia, that distance between the two pier is in Indian scenario, it is 30 meter. But in Malaysia, they have now tested the technology. You can go up to 120 meter. So there is a 30 to 40% cost saving. So everywhere I am very much interested to use of steel and cement. We want to reduce. We want to use carbon steel. We want to use the alternative of cement also. So everywhere we are encouraging the new innovators, research people, startup, that without compromise with the quality, if you can give us a solutions, we can think about it. And fortunately, the one thing is very, very good in India. There are a lot of young, talented engineers, IT professionals doing excellent jobs in research. And they are giving good proposal as far as the startup is concerned. Even the e-vehicle, lot of people are making e-vehicles. Now, 250 startups are making two-wheelers. That is going to reduce the cost. And they have got the good technology, good innovation. So this competition is going to be helpful for the consumer. So these are the new innovations. Everywhere our idea is to accept the new suggestions, new good technology, and whatever the best successful practices in the whole world. We are open for that, and we will encourage all your new innovations, research, and suggestions. If anyone can give us, we are very much transparent, time bound, and we are very open for that.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, we have a lot of suggestions and questions from members which we will share from your good office. Sir, we have a wonderful session with you today. I firmly believe that road building has to go hand in hand with investing in technology to reduce emissions, including electric and hybrid vehicles, and the charging network to make electric cars viable. These will be the key initiatives towards empowering India today for a better tomorrow. I take this opportunity to laud our government's ambitious plan and sir, wish you and your ministry the very best in all your endeavors. Thank you so much, sir, again. And now request our Senior VP, Mr. Pradeep Sureka, to please offer the VOT, vote of thanks. Over to you, Mr. Sureka.
Thank you, Vikas. Good evening, sir. It is an honor for me to deliver the formal vote of thanks at the end of this very engaging session, a very informative session. It is not the first time I've heard you. I've heard you a number of times, and I always go back thinking, encouraged to do more and more for the nation. And I saw that little video where you said, nation first, party second, I'm third. So that's a motto which, sir, it is so encouraging. You are known as the infrastructure man. You are known as the man with the vision, a delivery man, a man who is so committed to India's growth, a green growth. Thank you so much, sir, for sparing this valuable time for us and honoring us with your vision for India 75 and also, of course, for the 5 trillion economy. Thank you so much, sir, for being